morning, everyone, and welcome to the Knowi Q1 Product Update webinar. My name is Lorraine Williams, and today we're going to walk you through some very new and exciting features that have been introduced into the Knowi platform over the last 3 months. We'll have plenty of time at the end of the session to get to any questions you may have, and we do want this to be as interactive as possible, so please feel free to enter any question into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Before we kick off, just a little bit about Knowi. So Knowi is an augmented analytics platform that instantly connects to any data anywhere of any size, any measurements. Now, traditionally, BI and analytics tools typically require an exhaustive ETL process that can take several weeks or even months before you gain insights into your data at all. Whether your data is structured or unstructured, Knowi is completely agnostic. And not only that, we simplify the process by providing native analytics on top of your modern data with no ETL, therefore accelerating time to market. The Knowi platform has our groundbreaking data as a service engine at its core. Layered on top of this are our visualizations, customizable dashboards, multi-embed options, machine learning, the enabling of natural language querying across an array of disparate data technologies, depending on your technology stack, along with trigger notifications and alerts to assist with downstream workflow process management. So at this point, I'd like to hand you over to Manny, a solutions engineer over here at Knowi, who will walk you through the feature additions and enhancements.
Hello all, thanks for joining the call today. In the next few minutes, I'm going to be highlighting a few key rollouts that we've released over the past few months and shed some light into what's to come. But before that, a quick reminder that full documentation and release notes can be found in Knowi at docs.knowi.com, and as well, all items on there are searchable, and you can find out our release notes and keep up to date with key fixes, improvements, and new items. So for now, let's just jump into it. You've probably already noticed over the last few months some changes we've done to the UI and to the look and feel of Knowi.com, both on the website portion of that and particularly on the platform itself. We've simplified and enhanced the end-to-end flow to get you from your data source to the creation of dashboards in as quick as the time as you possibly can without wasting any time there. So for that, once again, the colors are a lot more shinier with modern look and feel to that. There's a bit of simplification on how to access your assets. If there's a dashboards, widgets, data sources on the left side here, and improved settings settings menu options as well within here. On the conversation, enhance permission to provide a lot more enterprise and give admins and system admins ability in how they craft and structure roles and permissions for the users and for their partners as well. So with that, let's jump into the roles section of the user settings. So from the user settings, you just navigate to the roles side. And one thing that we've done is added the functionality to create, for a system admin, to create custom roles for their users. And so what that looks like is, is clicking the add a role button. And let's call this, let's say finance team. So you can give the role a name that's more intuitive to your use case, and other system admins or other team members with access to this functionality can apply the roles and permissions to different groups and users within the organization. So for the finance team, let's say we want them to be able to create a query, clone a query, but not delete the query, edit the query, and see queries, create dashboards and such. And so you get to choose and dissect what you want your users to be able to do. We want to limit the customer information from them and but do allow them to view their user information, not delete a user, create a user, but not delete a user, edit a user, And so you get a chance to really customize all the look and feel of all this, as well as how your users are able to interact within your accounts. And so once you save that, that gets applied on the bottom here, and then you can go within your users and apply that role. So let's say we have this new user. It's just as much as going into the user's role and saying this user belongs to the finance team. So let's give that let's apply the new roles that we've created to that user. So once again, this really gives you the chance and the ability to really define on a granular level how each user within your system can interact within your account and within your customer account, and especially particularly if you're working with third-party vendors or third-party partners, you can dissect and really have strong granularity in how that's applied. Alongside the conversation of roles and permissions as to what recently went out is a password security feature, which within the customer settings of your account settings, once again, these are more system admin functionality to enhance and enforce healthy password behaviors within for your users. So for the password expiry, you could set a number of days for which all users within this account must reset their password. And so let's say if you want a password expiration policy of every 30 days, users should reset their password. Entering this number and saving this and saving that value applies. So whenever a user within your organization, as the number of days approaches to when their password is due to expire, a notification and a banner sits on top of their account, constantly reminding them to reset their password. And once that's done, that the counter resets back for the next 30 days. So now the next thing to talk about outside of this is data as a service. With this bit, oftentimes your use case might require you to extend your workflow to a different process. That might be to a different teammate, to a tool, or to a process. But with Knowi, something that you can do is if after you've created the virtual data set from blending across multiple data sets, for instance, you've blended from a REST API to a Mongo database to a Couchbase data store, and you've created this single large virtual data set, and you want to do something else outside of the functionality of Knowi, perhaps a very specific functionality or use case for that. It may be passing on that data to a data scientist to apply more robust or advanced machine learning models, or applies certain other characteristics to that, or maybe you want to push that data back upstream. Something you can do with that is with Knowi's data as a service. Every virtual data set that you have, right? Every data that you've created has a virtual data set which you can extrapolate and apply that elsewhere. So with that, you might have created multiple things and you want that to be used elsewhere. So with for the data as a service, you could extrapolate that data once again and utilize that elsewhere. Maybe update a different ETL process outside of your initial data store, or continue the workflow downstream. And then the last bit to talk about is the NLP. And what we've done with this is, as some of you might have remembered, some of our earlier users, we've always had the ability to utilize NLP within a widgets, as you can see here. So for instance, we can go in and say, average speed by vehicle type. And as you type here, you get some autocomplete suggestions, and then running that gives you your response, and you can turn this into a visualization, and apply that back to your dashboard or to a different use case. So let's run through this quickly and clone this to a new widgets. So let's call this average speed by vehicle type. So we've cloned that and we can add that back into here if we wanted to, or use that elsewhere. Now, the other thing that we've done from that is from taking NLP and self-service from within the widget and expanded the functionality of that. So now you, as a user, as a business user, as an end user, you're not limited to applying self-service and NLP within a single data set. Now you can apply this across all data sets, as you can see on this from this input box above. Worth mentioning though, before this is again as the last couple of items that we previously mentioned. Enabling the NLP across dataset is something that is an admin, requires an admin type of role to enable that. And so to do that is going into user settings. From the settings panel, go into the user settings, and then on the bottom here, there should be a trigger to update or to turn on NLP across datasets. And then once this is on and enabled, it gives access to all users within your platform, the ability to query the datasets, applying the roles and permissions that you've enforced for each user's visibility. So for instance, if a user has, if user A from marketing is only able to see data sources from, or data sets from marketing, from the marketing side, applied with the user filters and the content filters, that carries as well within the NLP across data sets. So they're still only limited to what they're able to see. Now, once you've turned on once you've enabled for all users, you can go into any dashboard and you can see you will have access to now being able to query across your data set. So for instance, let's say I quickly wanted to find out some information about revenue by product. I can start the same way you would apply that query within the widget. That same behavior and the same process would follow through across data sets. So let's just jump into this and say, so total revenue, let's first spell this properly. And as you can see, as I'm typing, similarly, I'm getting autocomplete suggestions, but now rather than getting the suggestions from the same data set, the suggestions are coming from across multiple data sets. So what's happening here in the background is, as you type in certain keywords, we extrapolate those words and match that to the data set that the particular user has access to see. And then from there, providing suggestions, autocomplete suggestions, still within those data sets. And as the further you type, the slimmer the suggestions get and the more fine-grained it becomes to the exact matching data set. So I don't want to find out revenue by cuisine. I'm actually quite interested in revenue by product. So continue typing that. So total revenue by product type. And let's say I wanted to find this by retailer. Actually, let's get the average revenue by product type by retailer country. So I think this is the one I'm looking for here. So let's go ahead and execute this query. And so the same way, once again, just recapping what's going on here, as the behavior is within the widgets and utilizing NLP within the widgets, well, across the data set, that same behavior happens. So you've typed in your query, and so we've matched your query from English and translating that to Knowi's Cloud9 query language. So the C9QL that some of you are very familiar with, which is a very powerful enhancement on top of your data to do more aggregations, to do data manipulations. And so as we've typed that in here, we can see here it's applied the proper operations to that column and given it a renamed the column name just so it's a bit more intuitive. And so we can take this data and turn this into a visualization as well, similarly as we've done, as you can do within the widgets. So let's take this guy and apply a stack column, something a little bit nicer. And let's change some settings here. Let's group by country. Okay, this looks good. Right, let's create a widget out of this. And let's call this revenue by country, product revenue by country. And just like that, what we've done so far, just quickly recapping, is we have, we're using the NLP across datasets. We queried the datasets across datasets and turned that into a visualization and created a new widget out of that. And so if we wanted to apply that widget to a dashboard, let's call this product types. So created a new dashboard, and we can drop in this new widget that was recently created. And so just like that, we have gone from, in about 30 seconds, querying our data sets and creating new visualizations from there, and then dropping that into the dashboard. And so now this just recapping quickly, this functionality really has really been a very exciting effort that with numerous feedback that we've collected from different users and different use cases, and how interacting with your data set and being able to get information and extrapolate information from any point within the dashboard. So now you don't have to necessarily navigate through your many dashboards and your many widgets. You could query your data set from any point within the product and within the platform to get information. And so with that, I will hand that back over to Lorraine.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Manny. So with that, we have had a few questions come in. So let's start with this one. On the new roles and permissions feature, what does true mean, and is it backwards compatible? Yeah,
let's jump into that quickly. The answer to that, yes, it is. It is backwards compatible. The value true, which must have been, this three values here, are the system default values that comes out. So oftentimes, it's in simplifying some of the process for you. We do provide three canned roles that you can apply to any user within your system, and so those are admin, user, and viewer roles, with each having different levels of permissioning. Obviously, viewer role is only able to view things with no access to the underlying data source itself or the queries, just being able to see what you've created. And then an admin functionality having a lot more permissions and around configuring the platform and the users within there as well. So the three rows here with the system value of true are backwards compatible to the new rows permissioning, and offers you a chance to, or a way rather, to simplify your user creations without having to create complex or user-defined roles and permissions.
Okay, thank you so much. The next question is to do with natural language that you just showed. So is there a way to explicitly choose the data set if you know it?
Yes, you can explicitly do that. As some of you might have noticed, as you type in your query, let's go compare. As you type in your query, you on the right side here, different will be suggestions of data set that matches your query prompt. So you can click within that directly to apply that query to that data set. And so the reason for that is to make sure that as you're querying across data sets, the query that you're applying is applied to the appropriate data sets. And so this is a current functionality, and something that we've been testing around, and this is maybe giving you a quick preview as to what else is to come, is the ability to say, as you're typing, show me average, you can specify. So let's say I wanted to find out, show me average speed by vehicle. From entering this from keyword allows you to now specify the data set explicitly. So you can say from, data sets name, blah, 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 so to speak. And as you would know your data set very well. So those are two ways that you can apply or specify your data set when utilizing NLP. Once again, from the right side by selecting the data set that matches on the right here, and soon to come, being able to, as a user, being able to explicitly write that in and explicitly request the data set name as well from there.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. And there's one more. Oh, this is a little bit of a larger question, but what's next on the roadmap?
So on the roadmap, a few things that are coming up. I just gave you a quick sneak peek on the NLP bit, so being able to specify your data set by typing the name of that. The other one around that actually is applying API API around the NLP, so that any user or any end user can still have the same empowerment to grab quick insights from the data, and actionable insights often case. And this, excuse me. And in the case of what that would look like is, for instance, from within Slack, you could send you can query your dashboard from within Slack, and we're planning to wrap that around wrap the NLP around an API, so that you can from Slack query your data set and get a response right within your Slack channel or space. And the other thing as well that we're working around is this concept of categories. Categories as we think of it today, but now expanding that and improving the functionality of that, so that it's you can now structure and properly categorize, no pun intended, but properly categorize your assets within a folder-like structure. Maybe having a top-level folder called marketing, a subfolder within there, and various categorization of this, so you can structure and properly store your assets, if that's a widget, a list of widgets, a list of dashboards, or a list of queries, and as well apply permissions around that as also. And then the last thing that we are going to be working on is continuing the enhancements of the UI and the look and feel, and as well performance enhancements around the flow simplification.
Great, thank you so much. We've got a couple more questions come in. So one of them is, on the NLP, are the recommendations on the right stack ranked?
So on the right, so it's a combination of that. So what happens is we balance out as you start querying, as you begin using the NLP across datasets. We balance out what you've previously used based on your history, and with a balance of other matching queries. So there is some ranking to that, but there is also a balance of giving you the chance to, as a user, to say, I don't want this query, I don't want this other suggestions, but this is something else I want to, or I have a different query in mind. So it's the more you type in, the more you utilize it. The improvements in auto suggestions piggybacks based on what you've previously done and what you typically tend to do, and sometimes gives you that suggestion and readjust the ranking of the suggestions based on your use case. So it's tailored to each individual user on the platform.
Great, thank you. And then one last one. What if you have a new data set? Would it show up?
Yes, it does. It takes about roughly about 5 to 10 seconds from when your data set is applied for the indexer to pick up your the properties and the metadata within your data sets. So that happens very quickly and on the fly. And oftentimes, some users you might have noticed on the right side, if you do upload a new data set, there'd be a small little counter here that shows you the progress of your data set being indexed to the NLP. So that process typically happens very, very much in the blink of an eye. You might not notice it, but it is roughly about 5 seconds benchmark that we shoot for when a new data set is uploaded, or when an existing data set has been changed. So whenever that data set's been changed, perhaps a field name has been changed or a filter has been changed, there's a re-indexing that happens to make sure that whatever suggestion happens from the NLP bit here is being reflective of the most latest and recent data set that user has access to see.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. So that's it. We have no more questions coming in. So with that, I'd like to thank Manny for the overview of our new features and enhancements, and also all of you for your time today. So the session was recorded and will be sent to you via email. And thank you and have a great day.
Thanks all.